Let me ask you a question. What keeps you awake at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, I can tell you what it is for me, and it's something I call the what-ifs. What if my job slows down? What if I can't make my car payment? What if prices keep going up? What if I can't save enough for retirement? If you're over 50 and wondering how you can make some money to protect your savings going forward, you're not alone. I know for a fact there's a whole generation of us over 50ers doing the exact same thing. Looking at retirement, feeling the squeeze, and quietly looking for a work from home kind of thing where we can actually make some money that isn't a total joke or scam. By the way, my name's Don, and I'm just your average over 50 worker bee here in Texas. And I gotta tell you, I've been laying awake a lot at night talking to my what-ifs. You know how it goes, right? There you are, it's really, really quiet. Everybody's asleep, and there you are in the dark staring up at that ceiling fan. And those what-ifs keep coming and coming and coming and coming. What if I can't pay my bills? What if I can't retire? What if I can't make the mortgage payment? And the one that scares me the most, what if one day I realized I could have fixed it, I had the time, but I didn't. Anyway, laying there one night doing the what if dance, it dawned on me. If I couldn't just keep talking to the what ifs, I needed to do something about it, and I needed to do something about it sooner than later. Now, this wasn't the first time this had happened. About 15 years earlier, we got slow at work, and I got nervous, and I was pretty frustrated with it. And that's when I first took a look at what I'll call non-traditional or online businesses. And to be totally honest, I had visions of getting rich and living on a beach too. But that's not the beach I was seeing now. The beach I was seeing now was in a third world country in some shanty shack because that's all I could afford. And so began my half-decade journey, chasing shiny objects both online and offline. It was the usual cast of characters, MLMs, affiliate marketing, blogging, all the hucksters there. And you know what? I hate to admit it in a public forum, but I tried my hand at more of them than I'd care to admit to you. And the fact that you're watching me on this video right now tells you every single thing you need to know about how all that worked out for me. Well, 5 years later, after receiving my degree, advanced degree in online frustration through what I call the non-traditional school of business, I recognized one fact and came to a conclusion. If online and non-traditional business was so easy, everybody'd be rich. And guess what? They're not. So after 5 years of being continuously knocked out in the ring with non-traditional businesses, I did what any champion does. I threw in the towel and headed to the showers, and another decade flew by. So after I finished my concussion protocol from being knocked out so many times, I made a decision. No more chasing shiny objects, no more looking for big online scores. Nope, I was going to go back to work, pay my bills, and try to do the right thing going forward. The years rolled by, but today's what-ifs were asking a whole new set of questions. You know, 15 years ago, they were asking, hey, are you going to get rich? Hey, are we going to live on a beach? Now they're asking, hey, are you going to be able to retire at all? What are we going to do? Now, maybe it's just part of getting older, but you stop thinking about getting ahead or even keeping up. You start thinking about not falling behind. It was really starting to look like that all those years of hard work and playing by the rules wasn't going to help me survive. And that one overly loud what if kept asking night after night, what if you're not going to be okay? What if you're not going to be okay? What if? Now, I'd promised myself that I'd put all that online BS behind me. I wasn't going to get scammed again. But every night, those what ifs got louder and louder and louder. What if you're not going to be okay, Don? And they were getting harder to ignore. Like I said, they showed up night after night just like clockwork. And it wasn't long before I found myself sitting in front of a computer screen night after night. Not because I wanted to or not because it was fun, but because I knew I needed to do something now. So there I'd sit night after night, sifting through a sea of make money online, get rich quick videos, and I would just shake my head and say, what fool falls for that? And then I'd remind myself, you did, dummy. Most of what I was watching online was the same old overhyped promised I'd watched 15 years earlier. The faces had changed and they were younger than me, but the message is still the same one. And then one night something caught my attention. Not because it promised the world, but because it didn't promise me the world. No mention of making millions from a beach or a big fancy car. It was just a normal person talking about their life and why they'd started looking 2 years earlier. No talk of getting rich, just the hope of getting some financial breathing room as they went into retirement, where a surprise expense wasn't a gut punch. And I thought to myself, hallelujah, someone finally speaking my language. I kept waiting for her to ask for my credit card because I knew it was coming, but she never went there at all. Instead, she kept talking about a process step-by-step roadmap in something called the Freedom Formula Blueprint. Her name's Wendy, and she's a 57-year-old grandma with 3 granddaughters even. And she wasn't talking about living in a big mansion. In fact, she lives in a normal house. But she talked about having to learn skills and you had to work. But she was living proof that it would work. She said that learning the skills and following the roadmap made it so that normal folks like us didn't have to reinvent the wheel to make it work. That's what got my attention. And for the first time in a long time, I started thinking, maybe this might work. Don't get me wrong, I hadn't drank the Kool-Aid yet. I was still looking for the catch, because deep down inside, I figured there still was one. So I went digging online, looking for testimonials, looking for comments, looking for people saying positive or negative things. You know, like, don't waste your time. Hey, this is a scam. And you know what? I was conflicted because part of me was hoping I'd find something bad so I could move on. But deep inside, part of me was praying, please let this be the truth. The more I dug and the more I learned, I realized it was giving me something else. It was giving me hope. And with that hope, it brought a new what if. What if I hadn't waited too long after all? So I opened Wendy's blueprint just as she suggested, and I'm telling you, I dove in head first. And between me and you, I was amazed. I kept expecting hype or sales pitches, and that's not what it was at all. Just solid information, which actually answered every question I'd been carrying around for months. I spent the entire weekend going through it, reading, watching videos, doing everything it said. And Monday morning, I pulled the trigger. Look, if you're laying awake at night, listening to the chatter of your what-ifs like I did, don't do it. I've put the link to Wendy's exact blueprint in the description box below. Go look at it with your own eyes and see if it makes sense. Don't take my word for it. Hell, I wouldn't. And whatever you decide, man, you're not alone in this. Keep up the good fight and God bless.